So, here we go. Week 3 of SATAL 2018. Today we have 51st versus Lockon Greece, running on Soichi versus Kutasi. I'm joined by Iron Mike, who has totally slept enough and is not tired.
Not at all, guys. Not at all. Welcome to the stream. Welcome to SATAL 2000 and what year do we have? 18.
Yeah, 18.
I have proof of me not sleeping enough, but that doesn't matter. We were all excited about this stream. We have two great squadrons taking it out against each other today. The 51st and the Greek squadron GR. Both good squadrons. The 51st, of course, has a little bit history here, longer history. They're also the organizers of SATA, so let me thank them again for that. And also I would like to shout out a welcome on behalf of the Heatblur team, who is sponsoring the SATAL event massively with a big prize money. For those of you who don't know, the winner squadron, excluding the 51st and the 104th as co-organizers, of course, but everybody else is eligible for the prize money of 500 euros. And there's going to be about 16 Heatblur modules. And let's remind you guys that all of you who are watching the streams for SATAL, at certain points during the streams will be able to win Heatblur modules as well. So be excited. I hope it's going to be a great match. Right now they're spooling. We have the message from Slutcher that he's spooling, and yeah, maybe Simon can give us a little bit of summary of what happened last weekend, and then we'll see what happens this weekend. Sounds fun?
Yeah, last weekend we saw SF versus the 36th with a very... I think we thought at the time it was the longest match we ever had, like in a SATAL or SATAC stream. It was one round which on its own lasted an hour. It was a very defensive round, which, like, after very long fighting was decided for 36th, with an F-15 landing with one engine only because he was so low on fuel. Problem later on was that we discovered that there was a violation of the rules, since the Eagles are only allowed to take 4 AMRAAMs, and one of the 36 dudes took 6, so that round unfortunately had to be counted as a loss for the 36th. And then in the second round we had a pretty fast victory by SF. They went in a lot more aggressive, and we had some really nice dogfighting scenes. So this week we have 51st, which is as always basically flying full flanker loadout, 6 flankers. GR in SATAC was flying mix of Mirages. Yeah, and then they're doing it again. They have 2 F-15s, 2 flankers, and at the moment 1 Mirage. So at the moment they have only 5 pilots, if I'm not incapable of counting.
Yes, there are 5 GR people on the line. We also have the AWACS right now overhead over both airports. And let's just have a quick look on the red side. We have 6 51st taxing, and the 51st traditionally being a flanker squadron. Of course, they're all taxing in the SU-27s. Maybe we can show that now. If you click on the SU-27s taxing, you can see here the 51st is already taxing in a nice manner. There's also something you can always see in the squadron. How well trained are they? How good are their SOPs? How mannerly is the fashion of taxiing, of takeoff? How good are their procedures, you know? So I think this adds a lot to immersion if you see a squadron taxiing nicely with the separation they're supposed to have on the taxiways. It shows skills. It shows also that they pay attention to more than just shooting people down, which also makes for a nice watching and flying experience, of course, from their perspective, and watching experience from our perspective. What do you think, Simon?
Yeah, that's very much true. I agree. Also, a new thing, normally during these events we tend to have pretty good weather. While today we have overcast, actually, at something like 1,800 meters, if I'm remembering correctly.
Yes, we do have overcast. We also have significant haze. If you zoom out a little bit, if you're on one aircraft and zoom out, you see that the visibility is, I would say, around 5 nautical miles. So we have not really VMC conditions, but that's not what this event is about. Fighter jets don't really care about that. It's not that we're here VFR against IFR, flight loose or something. It's really about, adding a little bit to the situational awareness. What am I doing, especially when I'm in the mountains? Am I going too low? Is the terrain my enemy as well? And of course, when I break into the merge, I have the option with a cloud cover to disappear in the clouds if I have to. Being locked radar, the clouds won't help you a lot, of course. But it adds a little bit to that, and it can add confusion if you do not pay attention. Then of course you can get in trouble because of the weather. So this is added to all of that. Now we can see the 51st is lining up on the runway. They're having two VIG formation takeoffs, as it seems. So basically it's a pair of twos and then one more and then a pair of twos and then again one more. So they're taking off 2, 1, 2 and 1. Let's have a look how the Greek squadron is lining up. So the Greece squadron is lining up on the runway. They have a little bit of a, I would say, maybe they had a little bit of a misunderstanding about the active runway they're going to be taking, since we see that one guy is taxiing down runway 08 while the other ones are basically taking the active at runway 26. So they will meet up on the runway. That can happen if guys spawn on the opposite sides of the runway, but usually, of course, taxing down the runway is something rather rare to see. But those are just, cosmetics. I mean, I'm a fan. I'm a fan of watching people flying in good formation, flying in a mannerly fashion, and taxing in a mannerly fashion. I think it all starts with the spool up and the SOPs that you as a squadron excel, because the more you are basically concentrated on doing proper SOPs and properly manually taxing and so on and so on, the more you immerse yourself in the whole flight, and the more you also calm yourself down and free up concentration capacities in order to get into a state where you are open for a lot of situational awareness. So I think those SOPs are not only nice to look at, they're also a good possibility in order to collect yourself before the flight and to get yourself into the state of a, let's be overboarding of a professional virtual pilot. Okay, let's say that. So the more as a squadron you have these things trained down, the more you have a procedure that basically immerses you step by step into the process of the flight and the fight that is going to follow.
Yeah, following procedures can add a lot of can calm it down quite significantly. Like having routine doing things definitely helps.
So the 51st said that they're ready. The Greek squadron is still lining up, and as soon as they will give the ready, we're good to go. I think so. It's gonna happen anytime. The majority of the parts are gonna take place over Sukhumi Babushara. A lot of people will know this region very well from missions that we have a lot online. That means like missions like Operation Bison and Backfire on the 104th, or Operation Longbow. Blue Flag also, this area always appears. So I mean, this is not a region that is unknown to virtual pilots. It's a very let's say Sukhumi is a spot where in a lot of online missions, people will clash, and people will fight it out against each other. So the 51st definitely does have experience with fighting over Sukhumi, and I think the Greek squadron as well. The good thing here is the same setup with, let's say, Anapa versus Sochi, is that you're along the coastline with mountains, flat terrain, and open water. So you can basically define Now, when you're in an SAT-27 or in an F-15, where do I take the guys, okay? Do I want to have them come out feet wet, where I have much better radar visibility? That means I need to apply a little bit more skill and have to be certain of myself that I do not need the terrain cover myself. So I give up the terrain cover in order to lure the other guys into the open. Or do I decide for the other side around that I will be the one who's flying in the mountains and trying to sneak up on them and so on? Remember, both sides do have AWACS, and the AWACS is very close, so everything outside of the mountains will definitely be seen by the AWACS. Remember that the SU-27 does have data link, and both sides do have the SU-27, so one pilot at least on each side will be aware of what is happening around him by just looking on the MFD in the SU-27, as the AWACS will relay the data link data to their aircraft. However, if you're in a mountain and in a valley that is low enough, and if you look at the map, then between Gudata and Sukhumi, there's this big valley that is running from west to east, and you have smaller valleys going into it. So this is the main area where, for example, the 51st can take advantage much quicker than the Greek squadron, because they basically start almost out of that valley. They just need to fly around down the coast and right in front, Gudata, turn left, and then fly down the valley. We also know that route very well from online missions, because that is the route a lot of people take in missions like Bison or Longbow and so on, in order to sneak up behind the mountains, proceed towards the Inguri dam, and then break into the open from that side. And if you manage to get by all the AWACS and all the radar, if everybody's fighting at Sukhumi and you would have a person that is coming down along there, he can cut off the enemy basically from the back.
Yep, definitely. And GR actually got a last-minute addition to their roster, so they now have two flankers.
There we go. We can see them taking off, by the way.
Yes. Yeah, well, I was about to say that that GR is this time flying the same setup with two flankers, two F-15s, and two Mirages, which I think can be a strong point, because you basically don't have like a Humigeno's like amount of advantages and disadvantages, but at the same time it kinda makes the advantage of one certain platform less prominent.
Let's watch the 51st taking off here, Simon. And again,
yep, already on it.
Roger, here you can see again, guys, what I meant, right? You see in the takeoff, they take off information, they take off structured, they take off together, so they're already set up as that flight. They, in the takeoff, are already executing part of their tactics. You can see that there is a decision, and there's an actual and conscious decision behind the stacking they have. So they know they're in the two ship, in the one ship, in the two ship, in the one ship, and they have that backup guy that probably now is going to rejoin. So the takeoff alone gives us a little bit away of the tactics that we might see. It looks like they will be going in pairs of not pairs, but in groups of 3 and 3. So my suggestion is that the 51st will do what they can do best, and that is boxing. And boxing means that basically you have two flights, one is up front and one is in the back, and they're doing a hot-cold pattern into the bandits. That means that the first flight is going to fly into the bandits, is going to bait them so that they basically follow them back, while the second flight is going to come in and snap them, while the other guys are distracted by the first flight. So it's a switching tactic that not the ones who go in first are the ones who are necessarily the attacking guys, but they're the guys who are baiting the other ones into the trap. And the 51st is very good in that. They are very patient as pilots, and they're very well trained in these tactics. So Lockon Greece will have to be very careful that they do not fall for these traps that will be laid out by the boxing tactics of the 51st. We will see if they will really be boxing. They might do other maneuvers like dragon back and other tactics, but the most common tactic by experienced squadrons to be used in these kind of scenarios is a boxing tactic, and stacking 2 flights in separation behind each other is a good indication for that. So now they have all formed up, and they will punch through the cloud cover now. Also for the SU-27s, a lot of people mistake that, right? They think they're gonna fly low, they're gonna be doing their data link think and ET shots and trying to sneak up on the bandit, not so much in an open engagement. And with every aircraft it is the same. You have altitude, you do have energy, because those are the 2 currencies that we train in flight: speed for altitude and altitude for speed. So if I want a stronger missile, even if it might have a little bit of look down disabilities because of ground clutter and so on, notching possibilities, yada yada, but I still want to fire the missile from top to down to give it more energy advantage. And that's why they're all climbing out above the cloud cover and not staying below. Let's have a look what Greece is doing. Greece, we see here in 2 ships, so they did end up with 6 people. One guy was just a little bit late to the party, and they have a very interesting setup, because the front runners is a pair of SU-27s. The midfield is covered by a pair of 2 F-15s, which is not a bad idea, and the back basically is covered by a pair of Mirages. I might have switched the Mirages in the SU-27 if it was me, tactically, right? I would have had the Mirages as the faster guys, the guys who can go higher, and the guys who can excel more aggression quickly with less missiles. I would have had them be the front runner without shooting a shot though. I would have had them make mock runs and waste the other guy's missiles, because the Mirage can outrun both the F-15 and the SU-27. So what the Mirages can do here is basically poses that boxing bait, you know, but in this case the Mirages are in the back, which I think is a natural thinking. You say they have less ammunition, we will have them as backup guys. I think it gives a little bit away of the capabilities that the Mirage has just in baiting. So like I said, you know, I would have the Mirage in the front and the SU-27, the data link guys, who can basically, you know, act as the eyes of the whole operation. I would have them in the back. But apart from that, it is pretty clear what Lockon Greece is running for tactics here. They will come up with a front line of a 4-ship, basically a guerrilla group as we call it, and they will have a backup pair of Mirages to fall back to, or to advance in case somebody is in a distress. The 51st is now going into a feet wet, and we have Slutcher here breaking off to the north.
Yeah, the first 3 ship has split like a second ago. But I agree pretty much with what you said about the Mirage. You can make those high speed, high altitude runs and just like put some pressure on the enemy to do something. Even if they like fire just defensive shots, you're already like making them think about it before you even intend to do anything serious about it.
So what you can see here, if you look at the 51st just in the map, okay, it's not so much that the flight really broke up, but they're split up in a tactical spread. You can see X-Men and Technetinium. That was the first 2-ship with Slutcher, who has now fallen back. It's very interesting. We have 1 tactical box front, then we have a 3-ship, which is being the pusher and the aggressor here on the southwestern side of the whole formation, and then you have Slutcher, who's basically acting like a fallback anchor to which people in distress can fall. But that already is like a triangle boxing thing. So I would have expected the first 3-ship to be a little bit fall back, but it seems they also adapted their stuff for the 4-ship that is coming in on the other side. As you can see that basically Lockon Greece is forming a wall of two ships, and
yeah, the 3-ship has just pushed burner basically.
Yeah, so you don't want to you don't want to bait
Range out 24 miles.
bait 3 versus 4 and then end up even in the switch situation of the box, again 3 versus 4. First missiles has been fired here from Technotinium. Looks like a very long shot,
Yeah, very long
defensive shot. And Frosty has fired, and now you can see that 2 ships from the southern 3 ships is breaking away, extending, while Greece basically is still running more or less towards them. We have now a split. We have 3 guys. 2 guys are extending, but the 51st are making this extend on purpose. They want to bring them in, and Slutcher is keeping the eye on them while everybody else is extending, but they're not running away from them. They haven't really been fired on. They just want to break up that wall, and they did that very successfully. Now they are against the 2 ship of Su-27s. The 2 F-15s are basically separated and are extending, and the Mirages are following, while the 51st, as you can see, has already turned back. Yeah, so this is the switching tactic that's gonna be the flow of the day today. I think from the 51st side is 2 guys on the front will bait, then they will reverse, and 2 other guys will then take over, while when they reverse, the other 2 will come back in again. So you always have a 2 ship at least that is hot on the bandit and sees what's going on, and you have the other guys who are extending and basically baiting. 1 missile coming very close to GRT SAF, but it did miss him, so no harm done here. It's still all just standoff missiles. An ET has been fired, an ER has been fired from the Greek guys. And the Greek guys are not acting stupid here. They're not falling for that bait yet. So the Su-27s and the F-15s, they're all still quite together. They're not that chaotic yet. Here's an ET shot from Yaga. This is always something which is potentially dangerous. If you do not think about the ETs, you can easily get hit. And my suggestion to everybody is always, if you fly against aircraft that are capable of carrying ET or long-range heat-seeking missiles, do always defend them too, whether they're there or not. It's better to defend them and not having one and surviving than having one and not defending them and not surviving them.
Very much true.
So the F-15s here are making a little push, but not aggressive enough. If you look at the ranges, they're still very far, okay? And we know that the missiles that we have currently are not that strong to have that kind of a reach. You can see the AIM-120B is already out of energy here. The R-27 ER as well. I mean, those are all
here.
those are all defensive shots. I mean, Spooky, the ET, that could be something.
Yep.
Yeah.
That got him.
That's exactly what I meant. That's exactly what I meant. You always have to act as if an ET is there. Cut your throttle at least to the half, if not to idle. You have to make sure that before you go into the defensive, you have gathered enough energy so that you can go into the split S or into the reverse or into the Immelman or into the octagonal roll, whatever defensive maneuver you take, that you have enough energy to get it through, even with the throttle at idle. And of course, never forget the flares. The bad thing about that is the flares give away a position, but in a BVR standout, which this is still, it's on the verge of VVR, so this is not so important. I mean, people know where you are anyway, and they're stataling. So better spread out those flares, cut that throttle, and expect that ET, or it's gonna happen to you as it just happened to Spooky, unfortunately, who paid
Malta firing guns, I guess.
the price.
Pressing joystick
for
buttons is
catching the
hard.
ET.
Here goes an R.
Malta is firing another one.
Oh no, it doesn't ET.
And you can just see what a strong missile the ET has become over the years. It is one of those not only fire and forget missiles, but really silent, sneaky missiles sometimes, if you don't expect it, since you can have a silent aim 120 shot, but the moment the missile goes active, the other guy is going to have a radar warning, a missile launch warning, and of course, I mean that uh, is often too late, but still it gives him a warning and an advantage, an ability and just a chance to escape the missile. The ET, if you do not spot it and if you do forget about it and if it does come in your range, you will not hear about it, you will not expect it, you will not see it at longer ranges because the motor has burned out, and the only thing you're going to experience is that surprising and very, very disheartening boom, and you'll be gone.
And what's interesting here that GR seems to be collectively retreating. At least they're all cold at the moment. Nobody is pushing. We now
Yes, and that is
have a cannon range of like 25 miles between the two factions.
Yes, and that is a very clever thing of them to do. They lost already a guy. For now it is very important for them to stay together. The more they separate and the more they go into the bait, because the 51st, they look, if you go into the F10 map and look at it, they look all very separated and they look all very disorganized. But don't be mistaken, you can see it's still the same three ships flying together. Okay, we still have X-Men, Technotinium, and Slutcher in the north, and we still have Frosty, Molter, and Yaga in the south. And if you look at them, they have almost the same triangular setup, just reversed. You have a two-ship with a follow-up in the north, and a front runner with a two-ship follow-up in the south. And they will just keep doing the hot-cold patterns in order to box them. YGR is going that far back and not putting more pressure on there. I don't know, because the problem here that we have is that what they allow the 51st is to push them against the boundary of the bubble, because as we know in SATAL, there is a bubble around Bullseye, which is at Sukumi here, and if you leave the bubble, you cannot enter it again. So you're out of the fight, okay? That's like an aircraft shot down or lost, and you don't really want to be pushed back to the wall with your back, because you will not have the range and the ability to react and to defend yourself as much as if you would be in the middle. You have still enough range to run away, you have enough range to go left and right and whatever you want to do. But if you end up against the back of that bubble and you have to reverse and run away, you will run out of it, and it is just the same as if being shot down. So now Greece has turned back, and for them, from their perspective, what do they see now? They see a one ship who's going back. I think Frosty should have come there a little bit closer and make himself a little bit more available, because what happens a lot online in these events, and especially in sims, and I guess in real life as well, is a certain kill lock. So you think you can kill the guy and suddenly everything else becomes secondary and you forget yourself.
I think.
And that is the best moment for the opponent to snap at you. So we have an ET coming here, a Technotinium.
Yeah, but I think it's running out of juice. Yeah, it lost track.
Who's running out of juice?
The ET ran out of juice.
Yeah. And Technotinium, as you can see, he defended it as well. He did a defensive maneuver there. He didn't keep flying straight. He was expecting it. And of course, the SO-27 has an ability to know against what they're flying by the comparison of range on the radar and the Berlioza. So we know that a certain radar has a certain range on the Berlioza, and by that you can basically define whether you're up against an F-15 or an SO-27. Also, like if you see a missile launch and you have not been locked, then you know it's an SO-27, it's an ET shot. If you're being hard locked and fired upon, most likely it's an SO-27 who doesn't have TWS fire capabilities. So here's a hard exchange between Panther and Slutcher in the north, and Slutcher's gonna come very close to that AIM-120. Yeah. He defeated it. Very well done. Very well done by Slutcher.
That was very close.
But the F-15's gone, I think. Yeah. Panther was killed by the 27 ER. So Slutcher took the opportunity there. He fired 3 missiles, and that's not spamming, people, okay? A lot of people think like, oh, he fired 2 or 3 missiles at him, that's spamming. No, that's making sure that your opponent is dead, and that's what you want to do, okay? Flying home with 6 missiles is not an achievement.
Frosty has a really good flank here. He's basically on the flank of 2, and Technictinium is boxing him from the north. Scooby is in trouble here.
Yeah, and they're both getting ET shots, so the thing here is, unfortunately,
ET shot into the cloud.
Okay, they both go for Scooby, but
there comes the missile.
bite.
Boom.
Yeah, there it is. Boom. Scooby's down. If Frosty and Technitinium would have separated, I assure you, Frosty would have killed Aeolus, and Technitinium would have killed Scooby. But they didn't. They took out one guy. They're already 6 versus 3 here. Here comes an ET from Slutcher against the 530 Matra, and here you can see...
He doesn't see it. Like, he doesn't see the ET. Yeah, boom.
Yeah, and the 530 Matra is no threat at all. Lock broke, missile is loose, and also, you know, again, you have here the advantage of a fire and forget missile against one that needs to keep lock in order to hit the bandit.
And I feel there's another ET coming.
Look at that, look at that.
No, boom.
That was such a long... This missile was dead. Would he have cut his engines? Would he have maneuvered just a little bit? Would he have popped 2 flares? It wouldn't have hit him, okay? But that's the thing. You fly against a wall of Su-27s. That means you're flying against 6 times 2 is 12 ETs, okay? And even after that, the R-73 is not a missile that has to be underestimated. And the AIM-9s on the F-15 is just the same, as well as the Magics. I mean, that's what I've been seeing a lot lately online, okay? A lot of people get killed by long-range heat-seeking missiles that are totally out of energy, that are totally out of track, that are totally out of everything, just because they forget about them and because they full burn towards the bandit. You see a bandit in front of you, you see him go cold, you think like, oh, he's running away, I'm gonna catch him. But what you did forget is that before he went cold, he parked a heat-seeking missile right there in the sky, and all you have to do is fly into it. And that's basically what the Greek guys have been doing here. They've been more or less flying into those ETs. And now it's a very, 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 very simple game for the 51st. All they have to do basically is either to chase down TSAF or to wait until he runs out of fuel, or to chase him out of...
Yeah, here comes the ER. Boom.
Yeah, boom. That's it. He's been chased down, and thus a win for the red side for 51st.
Yeah, that went pretty quickly after they retreated to that position. They got a little bit cornered there between the northern and southern 3 ships. And a little bit unfortunate for the for DCS to have IR missiles tracking through clouds. Would have inhibited a few infrared seeking shots, but yeah, it shall not be, I guess.
No, but you know, there's nothing to blame at, okay? I mean, the Greek guys obviously did some great flying here too, but I always say, you know, it doesn't matter how it should be in real life, it doesn't matter how
you have to play the game.
You think that the missile is at fault, you know, it's always, always, always your own fault, you know. You know it's like that in DCS, you know the cloud cover doesn't matter, even the sun will not really, you know,
the sun works. You can spoof also IR
works,
SAMs with the sun.
It's still, you know, it'll still pick rather the aircraft than the sun. So I just deal with that missile's gonna see me, that missile's gonna grab me. Again, it's like even if there's no missile fired, it's better to defend it and not having a missile in the air than not to defend it and having a missile in the air.
Very true.
So the 51st are forming up as flight again, and that's also something I like to see, that, you know, we didn't shoot down the guys, let's all exit, but that there's also a follow-up as a squadron, because that's what they do as well in real life. You know, after the fight everybody joins up. There are reasons for that you fly in formation, you're stronger, you're together, you see each other, you can assess battle damage and so on. You're low on fuel, it's just a more safer way to do so. And as you can see, everybody's basically joining up again. X-Men and Technotinium are together again, and it's still the same flights. It's just that Yaga, Moltar, and Frosty are more stretched out. So at low fuel states, what they will not do, of course, is that Frosty's gonna burn all the way in order to catch up with Yaga. If you're separated that much, then it's just a single
You're
ship
going to increase the
RTB.
camera here a
But
little
those
bit. Let
guys
me
who
know
can
if that
return
looks
to their
too
initial
bright
flight,
for you.
like Tech, X-Men, and Slutcher here, they will do so. And as you can see, Slutcher is slowly catching up to the other guys. It might be even that Yaga and the rest will rejoin on everybody. But like I said, is start and beginning are important too. And if the 104th would fly, I would always demand from my guys that after the fight is finished, they rejoin information and they fly the RTB as properly and nicely as they can. As again, that sets you up into the immersive surrounding of virtual flying and virtual combat flying. Simon, do you know, by the way, do they have load ATC controllers active today?
No, actually, I don't know. I know that the 51st plan to have, but I'm not sure if they actually have, and I don't know either if GR has them.
Well, it does not really matter because what we know is that they have AWACS capabilities, so in any case, they will get updates on where the bandits are. So right now we're waiting for the 51st to RTB. They're already over Godata, and now you can see also the Southern 3 ship has rejoined nicely. So as they departed, they're gonna come back. We have Tech, Slutcher, and X-Men in the north, and the southern 3 ship is Frosty, Yaga, and Malta. And that's how they left, and that's how they're gonna come back. And it looks good, and it worked well. And you can just see that the 51st, in that sense, is a very strong squadron. A bit unlucky for Greek guys today because initially what they did was not bad. It was not unclever, their flying, okay. It was just that they somehow completely forgot about those ETs, and that really broke their neck because 5 out of 6 of them were killed by an ET, and an ET that was really fired from far. Just let's see what happens, and it did happen every time, simply because they kept burning, they kept flying straight, they didn't maneuver, they didn't think of it, and in that sense flew straight into the ETs. Alright, even Alexander here in the chat is saying, I don't think either is using low tack. It's possible. I remember in our match we had problems setting up low tack, so even Alexander, you might be very well right here that they're not using low ATC. But like I said, it doesn't make huge difference because with SU-27s on the field and the AWACS in the sky, you can have situational awareness of your bandits without having the AWACS chatter going on. So Greece, I think, might have a little last hope that they run out of fuel just before Sochi. But I don't think that's gonna happen. But we will have the ability to watch some nice landings here just in a minute, right, Simon?
I watched Ruiz.
And the lead ship is right now starting their descent. That's the beauty about flying jets. You don't have to calculate descent rates. You don't have to, make a slow descent because you have 150 passengers who might puke just because you're descending with 5,000 feet a minute or inverted or whatever. Fighter jet can fly almost up to the airport, point the nose down, fly down, pull it back up, and then land.
Yeah,
In civil aviation, that's not the case.
Definitely not.
But the formula to calculate your descent rate and everything is not that bad. So now you can see very beautifully here that they disconnected. I thought, oh look, one of them is breaking up and they will go 2 and 1 in trail, but they just disconnected.
And Sludge one, they're killing each other. So much for orderly RTP.
Yeah.
Denied.
Me just like, oh look guys, this is gonna be such an excellent textbook RTB, and the next minute, oh my god. So much for professional virtual pilots, guys, yeah?
Yeah, I think the server just stopped. Because my AWACS is sitting in its own contrail, not moving.
Yeah, I think the best would be to restart the server in between matches anyway. I will quickly go and ask Rach about that. In the meantime, Simon will keep entertaining you and I'll be right back.
Yes.
User left your channel.
I will try to disconnect from the server here. Round first did go to the 51st, and now we basically wait for the second round to start. Should be relatively quick, I guess.
User joined your channel.
Yeah, server is restarting.
Yeah. Yes.
So yeah, the first round showed us the strength of the ET and what happens if you're not aware of it and if you neglect it. All of these deaths, in my opinion, all 5 of them could have been avoided easily, except the one, I take it back, 4 of them. The one where Technitinium and Frosty were boxing the 2 ship with Frosty flanking them from the... Did I say Foxy? Yeah, I said Foxy. I didn't, yeah. Anyway.
Pronunciation is hard. Names are hard.
Remember, guys, I didn't sleep enough today, okay? So, Foxy Lady Frosty came flanking from the south and of course was not seen by them, so that was a really aggressive hit. And I think another guy by Slutcher wasn't killed by an ET but by the ER actually. That was, I think, Panther. Yeah, that was the engagement, Slutcher versus Panther. So that was a proper 1 versus 1 engagement where Slutcher came out on top. It wasn't a lucky ET shot or an unlucky fly into the ET like in other cases. The other one was the boxing situation between Technitinium, Frosty, Aeolus, and I forgot the guy who got shot down. In my opinion, again, if they would have sorted, Technitinium, the northerly guy, and Frosty on the southerly or the trailing guy, I think they could have taken both at that time. But as you see, it wasn't really necessary. They came out on top easily just because 4 out of 6 guys bit into an ET that could have easily been avoided.
Yeah, I think the cloud cover played a little bit into that, even without the limitations that water vapor normally has, because like the ET normally has like that big smoke plume you can like see from, I don't know, 10 nautical miles away easy. And many of them, at least 2 I saw, were below the cloud cover while the ET came from above it. So that might have played a role into that, but still, you have to expect the tee shots. Like, if the banner does anything which doesn't look as offensively as before, like, there's usually something in the water.
Yeah, that's why I say, when I fly against an SC-27 or a MiG-29 or, anybody who can carry ETs or weapons like that, SC-33, I do defend them. I don't look for the smoke trail. I just 100% of the time, every time, I expect it to be there. And I still get hit by them from time to time. I still miscalculated the throttle to idle. I miscalculated the flares. I was too daring. I was too sure that I'm defending all of the ETs, and it still got me right. But in most of the cases, I mean, I don't get surprised by ETs. And the reason is I don't have to look for the smoke trail. I don't have to, get any other indication other than I'm flying against an aircraft that is ET capable. And that's why I will behave myself as if he fired an ET on me 100% of the time. Server is back up.
Yep, already joining back in. So here we go back.
So before the next match starts, or round, let's recap a little bit SATAL for the guys who might have just joined the streams. SATAL is a squadron versus squadron air-to-air championship. The rules are very simple: kill each other, team deathmatch if you like. And there is a bubble around Bullseye, which is its Tsukumi in this case, that once you have entered, you may not leave again other than to RTB, but that aircraft is counted as lost unless you have won the bubble prior to that. So while the bubble is contested and you leave the bubble, your aircraft will be counted as lost. So you have to be careful where you maneuver. It is fairly big, okay, I think it's 100 miles in diameter or something like that. And so you do have enough time and place to react to its boundaries, but that's that.
Yep, it's pretty much 100 nautical miles. Like, it's 200 kilometers, but like, for all intents and purposes, that's pretty much like 100 miles.
Yeah, and so what happens then? You collect points as the winning squadron. It is very similar to Champions League or the World Championship in football. The guys with the most scoring points will end up in the finals. Then that will be SATAC as we know it. And the winner squadron, sponsored by Heatblur Simulations, will get a prize money of 500 euros. That excludes the 51st and the 104th as organizers. If we win, the next better squadron will be passed on the prize money, of course. And there will be modules for the first scoring, second scoring, and so on squadrons. And also for you viewers, during the streams at unannounced times, you will be able to win an F-14 Tomcat by Heatblur Simulations. So the more often you watch, the higher is your chance to win a module. And we really hope that the streams will work out nicely, and that all of you guys are enjoying that, and that some of you guys will also get the incentive of joining a squadron because of that. Because hands down, I can tell you there is no better experience if you're flying DCS, and especially if you're flying it online and PvP, okay? There's no better experience than to be in a squadron, to fly with guys who know what they're doing, to be in a formation, to look at your lead's aircraft while you're doing or what you're doing, and to even be tactically good. And those tactics, some tactics, they can only be learned as a squadron because they work in between aircraft much better than with a single aircraft, of course. So for all of you who are thinking about it, don't hesitate, okay? Don't think that you're too new. Don't think that you're too bad, that you know too little or anything. The squadron that you're going to join is going to provide. What squadron should you join? The one that you find sympathetic for yourself, I mean, just look at the squadrons and ask yourself, where do I fit in? The better squadrons, the higher ranking squadrons, I would say, they demand a little bit more time investment and training investment. And then you have squadrons that are more casual, and both are great to be in there, okay? You have co-op squadrons, you have different things. You have like Master Arms in Sweden, who are doing crazy realistic missions, but only co-op, okay? You have the 476 who's doing similar. Then you have the 132nd Squadron, who's an ATC squadron. So their focus is on GCI and stuff like that, and so on. So you have a plethora of squadrons to choose from, and you should just take yourself the time and see which one is the most appealing to you. And then don't be shy,
Close
don't
hangar doors,
hesitate,
OP.
you know, just
No
go to the
cinematics
guys.
allowed.
Most of the squadrons are very happy to hear about membership requests. We always struggle with members and capable members, so just go there, knock on their door and say like, hey guys, it's me, I would like to fly in a squadron. And yeah, next year then participate in SATAL, of course. And this I also want to say to the squadrons who are already out there and who are not participating because they think they're too new, too weak, too inexperienced, whatever. It doesn't matter, okay? I mean, of course we're trying to win, and of course the best thing that can happen to you is if you win this thing. And of course, you might think, oh, I don't want to expose myself and people will laugh. Nobody will laugh, okay? Nobody will say anything. There's different skill sets in the community, and rightfully so, okay? It's not our job, it's not our profession that we have to carry out. What this is about having fun. And if you participate, I swear to God, you will have fun, okay? You will have fun if you take part in the events, if you take part in championships, as a solo guy in events, and even as a new squadron in these kind of events. You will learn more by taking part than by not taking part. And the sooner you do, the sooner you start being part of these events, the sooner your learning curve will bring you to a point where you'll also be maybe able to win them.
Yeah, even if you lose, like, preparing for it and, like, the learning experience afterwards can be very rewarding. That's very true.
So everybody is getting ready. Chimango has joined the blue side and he has replaced, who did he replace? I think, wait a minute. He replaced Technetinium. So the 51st appeared with more pilots, and maybe to clarify to our viewers, what you can do is that you exchange and replace pilots in between rounds. Okay, you cannot do that if somebody was shut down and then somebody else takes up. That's not okay. But like if you have 10 people who want to fly and there's only 6 versus 6 places, of course, in between each round you can exchange the pilots, so the other guys get to fly there too. And since Technetinium didn't leave TeamSpeak, I think that's what happened here. Okay, so Technetinium gave up his slot so that Chimango can fly. Let's have a look on the Greek side if anything changed there from the setup. They're already lined up on the tarmac, and it's the same. We have Pistola and Aeolus in the Mirages. We have Taf and Scooby again in the SU-27s, and we have Spooky and Panther and the F-15s. And now you can see this time the lineup
You ran through the bunker
is
walls, I
nice.
think.
If you look at the front two ship, it's a little bit, I mean, you would not take a fly in abreast, okay? But that's me being picky and finicky now. But for those of you who want to know, a proper lineup would be so that the helmet of the second flight guy is exactly in line with the right and the left rear tire of the lead aircraft. Then you are in the perfect separation for a two-ship finger forward takeoff. Yeah. Maybe they're doing this out of place, but as you can see, all of them are more or less lined up line abreast, which is quite unusual. Let's have a look at the blue side. They're just taxing.
Yeah, and I think Frosty had a little mishap, like his flanker was kind of damaged and then he despawned. I think he tried to run through the hangar doors and he clipped his wing while driving out, I'm not sure.
Yeah, I mean, we have that bug at the moment where you spawn in closed hangars. And if you try to, and before it was like that happened too, okay, but you could drive through that hangar door as if it wasn't there. It was just like, oh, it's a mirage, you know. in the sky. But now, if you do that, you damage your
cinematics
aircraft. So
right
that's
there.
a very annoying bug. But as we know,
view controls
2.5
aren't
has just
now
gotten
this.
in the kinder shoes, so it's gonna be a while till it's out of it. But overall, I think it's running nicely, and it's a great fun to fly. It's a great fun to enjoy the new map and the
not
new
sure
visuals.
which direction to take.
So yeah, I think we
Taking
can
a right
forgive them
turn
those minor
successfully here.
bugs that are still existing, and hopefully and probably will be fixed soon enough.
And we have more closed. Yeah, we have more closed hangar doors. I'm not sure if this will work.
Yeah, I see that. You can see the light shining out of the hangars. One of them's just crawling out of it.
Yeah, Yaga still looks fine. I don't know if he is stuck. Nah, he made his through.
Oh yeah, that is the fun part of flying DCS sometimes, you know. I mean, you see funny things that in real life, of course, would never exist like that. If you look at X-Men and Shimango here, Simon, you can see what I was talking about. Okay, Shimango's head, basically, if you scroll in so that you're looking, that you can line up Shimango's pilot's head with the right rear wheel of X-Men. You can see they're perfectly in line there, yeah. And that's exactly, now they're coming up a little bit to give the others time. But there you have the perfect separation for a Finger 4 or a VIC takeoff, which they're doing. But the second guy is always in line, if you guys want to know that, is always in line with the pilot's helmet being in line with the back tire, so that basically and how you can do that as a two-ship yourself, how you can verify that is, if you look over to your lead guy, you should not see his left back tire, okay? So if you're a little bit up front or a little bit behind, you will see the left tire behind the right tire. But if you're exactly in line with him, of course the right tire will block the view on the left tire, and that's how you know that you're in position for a two-ship or a multi-ship takeoff. And of course, guys, don't get me wrong, you know, I mean, I'm not that finicky that I would say, like, you know, it has to be spot on all the time, but the more you are, again, like I said, the more you are immersing yourself into being a professional virtual pilot in, you know, quotation marks, of course. We take that with a grain of salt, and we take that with humor as well. Nothing about what we do is really professional. Yeah. But like I said, you know, it adds to the immersion, and it helps you formulate your flight and your SOPs and get in shape. You see it, the second
doesn't do what
free
you wanted
ship
to
that's
do.
not working now because they don't have
Nice, I love
enough space, but now they're just pulling ahead, which is also totally legit.
Watch the GR take off if we're not too late for that. We might be.
Alright, how do you think the Greece squadron will react to what happened? You think we're gonna see some changes here, Simon?
I'm not quite sure. Like, I still think what you said earlier, having a high and fast Mirage ship can be very helpful, especially against a squadron, which is very well at keeping their flights together in an organized fashion, so they have a very good defensive posture, which you can not really easily penetrate. I think a two-ship Mirage flight, even if you don't kill anyone, like, the chaos that, like, two Mach 2 Mirages coming from two different sides can cause is, like, pretty significant. And even if it's just a distraction, it can be employed pretty effectively, so that would be something definitely possible, but I'm not sure if we're going to see it, because it's rare that you really see, like, high speed, high altitude flanks and stuff like that. Relatively rare.
Yeah, it is quite rare, and you're right, you know, what I would do with the Mirages is mock attacks. I would just fly at them, act as if, lock them up, get into their face so that they think they can kill me, and then I would, you know, transform all that energy that I was bringing towards them into running away. And what often happens, okay, even with the best guys, is that when you think that you can kill somebody, we call that you get kill locked. That means that you are so focused on killing that person that everything else just blacks out, mutes out. You forget the world around you. And that is the most dangerous state you as a fighter pilot can get in, because you just throw all your situational awareness overboard. Probably you're even STT locked on the guy that you're chasing, so you don't see anything. You don't see in the radar. You just hear the beep 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 go around you, and you don't react to that anymore because it's tunnel vision, and all you can see is that guy, and you want to kill him. And that's the best time for your wingman to kill the guy who's chasing you. So if you can get somebody to do that, to get into that kill lock, but you have to get close. You have to trigger that boundary where he thinks now you got too close, and that's of course a very thin line to walk on, and needs a lot of training in order to get that aggressive. But the Mirage is the perfect aircraft to do that. Come in fast, make yourself available, and then run away so that the other guy's chasing you, totally blinding out everything else and being easy prey for your wingman. Very interesting, the 51st, as you've seen, has come out over open water, feet wet. And like I said, you know, since Sochi is so much situated in the mountains, the red side has that advantage to choose in order to go into the mountainous terrain from the get-go, where the blue guys are drawn over the flat terrain and would have to make a significant, you know, dogleg to the northwest in order to do so themselves. So the Greek squadron is trying to get some terrain advantage there by staying on the northerly, feet dry side of the bubble. And I think they're gonna try to do some. And funny enough, here you can see the F-15s are in the back. The F-15s are the fallback guys. The F-15, I like to have her in the back if there's no AWACS present, because the F-15 basically can act as an AWACS, especially if you have two guys who know what they're doing, and you can divide the radar hemisphere between, you know, upper and lower half of the sky. They can cover a pretty extensive area with the radar and act as the AWACS for the other guys. But, you know, in a 6 versus 6 scenario, wasting two guys to be the AWACS, and of course, you know, this is just hypothetical talking, because we do have AWACS present here. We might even have float ATC controllers. Sorry that we didn't inform ourselves about that. But you know, I mean, it's just a waste of two aircraft. So here they're acting as the fallback guys, and they're sneaking. Are they sneaking down the valley? Let's have a look at them. That's Pantier and Spooky there. No, they're not sneaking into the valley. They're flying up high. But
yeah,
nonetheless,
basically
you
opposite
know,
of sneaking.
yeah,
In
they're doing the very
contrails.
opposite. Which is okay, you know. I mean, contrails in an F-15, you don't care so much about contrails. You're an F-15. You're supposed to fly up there. I swear you love it. You got the radar. You got the armament. And unless you know that, you know, you're over totally enemy territory over mountains, it doesn't matter much. But yeah, it's very funny that they stay practically alongside that valley, and they're not sneaking. And then also that the F-15s, who have the fire and forget possibility and the possibility to do much more pressure on the Su-27s than the Su-27 and the Mirage itself, that they are so far separated to the north. But we will see how that works out for them. It might, you know, it might be that, you know, the southerly guys run to the northerly two-ship and drag all the 51st into the mountains, where the 15s make short shish kebab from them. But I doubt this will happen. As you can see, the 51st is also not, and it's like they first started out going feet dry, but now the Mirage and the Su-27 broke feet wet immediately. You know, I mean, they're totally in the open space, and they're now stacked 4 against 6, and the separation is too far. Okay, that's too much separation for the F-15s being really effective backup plan. You know, because if push comes to shove here, and if all those 4 guys are being chased down, at a very close range, the F-15s will be too far away in order to help them, because that's quite the range. I mean, that's
30 miles.
That's 30 miles, okay? No way you will be able to help your wingman in distress at that range, okay? 10 to 15, 20 miles maximum, okay? Maximum 20 miles. And then also in a trailing position, because being up north there, you know, I mean, sometimes you just have to run away reciprocal. That means, you know, they will have to run west, and it's going to be even more difficult for the F-15s to join up with guys that are being chased. So that is a very, very, very dangerous gamble that the Greek guys are doing here, because basically they're setting out 4 versus 6. And the 51st has caught wind of that, of course, so they stayed just the 3 ship and the 2 ship, and they only have Slutcher as the fallback boxer. So, you know, they're not really concerned about that at the moment, because they have the advantage. You know, 2 guys basically pulled themselves out of the fight, and now they're getting it. You know, now they know, okay, I mean, what are we doing up here? Nothing. So let's go fucking south, you know, I mean, because that's where the fight is. And guess what? The 3 ship is already waiting for them. They're aware that they are there, okay? And they're setting up themselves.
And
First missile fired.
Exactly, we have the first defensive shots, 20 miles though. Like,
yeah, those are long shots, guys. Long shots. That's all defensive work.
I think what GR might have hoped to do is basically to entangle the 51st down south and then have the F-15s come around the flank. But with data link and AWACS, that's like, they, as you said, they would have probably basically have to mask themselves from AWACS. Have pulled that off. They probably got
and even then, you know, I mean, what good is it if you get seen, you know? Because at the moment you're gonna and that's because that's F-15s we're talking about here. I would have understood that with the SU-27s, okay, who then go in with data link and try to sneak up on you. But the F-15, you know, you cannot sneak up on somebody. You have to turn on your radar at some point. And look what's happening here. In ET and ERs off the rail, and they're being greeted already, okay? I mean, the 51st was waiting for them there, and they made it very simple for them, because they separated such that, you know, I mean, they do not have advantage.
He's probably
Look at the ET.
On it.
Boom. There it goes. Again, the same thing which I've been telling you guys, okay? So write that behind your ears, you know. Whenever you fly against an SU-27, expect an ET in the sky. And that was the first blood.
Yep.
Scooby is gonna deal with an ET here in the middle field.
Yeah, but I doubt that's going to reach. I think it's only going 900 knots even though. And
That's
it's still
not
8 miles away.
But here's also an interesting, okay, Saf fired an ET on Slutcher. While Slutcher is going defensive and Shimango is still being offensive, okay, he's covering him, which is good. You see 3 guys are running from 2 guys, which they shouldn't, but they are doing. Now this ET will just select the next best target, okay? So Shimango, if he would be burning towards them and run, oh, I can chase them.
There comes the ET, boom.
That ET would pick up on him, yeah.
Yep, again through the clouds. Yep.
Panther is gone. And the field has been leveled 6 versus 2. So you can see that separation didn't work. What happened in the end was the 51st can hold themselves 3 versus 4 nicely, so that wasn't an issue on the south. But in the north, they ended up 2 ship F-15s versus 3 51st guys, so not very good. And Scooby, I think he wanted to come to help them, and that's what I said earlier, okay? You see now, all he did is basically separate himself from the other guys and being there alone. But X-Men is clever enough, okay? He's not chasing him. He's turning on the guys who are focusing on him in order to save Scooby, but they if X-Men would have been here on Scooby's ass, tight, dead, then there would have been, not even for the fast Mirage, okay, there would have been no chance in saving Scooby, and vice versa. So that was just a tactical mistake, and boom,
And
here
there
again,
goes another ET.
So yeah, 4 versus 2. That was a very, very quick mop up. I almost want to type into the chat, don't forget about the ET, guys. You know.
Don't be mean.
I mean, I would really like to go to the Greek guys and say, like, guys, don't forget about the ETs. There's a lot of ETs. Don't you see that? But yeah, we cannot help them, and we don't want to, really.
Yeah, the ETs are very strong this match. Like, I don't think we have ever seen a match with that much ET fireworks.
Yeah, it's ET strong.
ET strong, very strong. Russian bias. Yeah. I'm really not sure, like, I don't remember who GR played against in SATAC, but I don't remember it being this being the case there. It's going to be interesting if like other squadrons get fooled by the weather with the lots of white clouds, which complicate the spotting of the ET as well.
Yeah, but like I said, you don't need to spot them. You just need to expect them.
Yeah, you should. But the question is like, what do people do against ETs? And I would say usually it's when they see it that they don't die to them. Like at least many people.
Yeah, but that's because they don't fly anticipative. You know, I mean, anticipatory flying is always what gets you just 1 centimeter further than the rest of the guys. You know, that's the same when you fly against an F-15. You gotta expect that AIM-120 TWS silent shot on you. Okay, if you're within 10 miles and you still don't have a missile warning, you know he fired and you know he's gonna come any second now. And then you see him go into the crank, into the reverse. You know that guy
North,
fired.
we have a full ET. We have a full complement of 4 ETs fired. Will any of them hit? I don't know yet.
The one coming from the south is strong, but that's always in DCS. Missiles start so strong, and then it's like, I don't want any more.
Yeah, I think this ET on Chimanga is not tracking. Yeah, no. Nope.
No, but all the 51st has to do now is basically sit it out. You know, Slutcher is, you know, I mean, he's separated here. It seems that the main pack is going after Scooby in the north, but here we have the exchange between Slutcher and Taff. And boom. Now let's see. And you can see here comes the defense. So none of the ETs did really matter to him. He fired one more missile because he didn't have visual on the splash at first through the clouds, but that's how you do it, you know. I mean, so even the Archer that he fired, and the Archer was the second missile he fired, still hit him. So that was more than enough, and now they only have to deal with Scooby in the north. It's basically a pack of wolves chasing a rabbit. That being said, you know, if Scooby would want to, they would never get him. But SATAL prevents this kind of behavior by adding a bubble around the people. So if he exits the bubble, he's more or less proclaimed as dead. So in this case, he cannot do that.
He's trying to use the mountain here, but I have a feeling this recommit is going to come to a grinding halt any second now. He's back over the mountains.
Well, he's trying, and you gotta give him that, you know. He didn't just give up or run away or anything. Boom, here he goes. Oh. Ah! He got Chimango, so that's the first kill for the Greeks, and it's fine, you know. I mean, that's what we commend, okay? That is spirit, okay? You're the last guy standing. You make sure you take somebody down with you, you know. I mean, at least that. So it of course helps a little bit. But Chimango is a cadet as well. Let's not forget that. On the other side, though, you know, it's more than clear win for the 51st. This event is basically over with that. 51st are the winners of this match and those rounds, and best out of 3, so 2 versus 0. They could fly, another match, but that would be just cosmetic because the Greek guys cannot win this anymore. They tried some things, they were not flying completely mindlessly. Don't think that at all, guys. They had some planning and they did show some tactical initiative, but unfortunately they chose the wrong tactics against the 51st. That's the one thing, and the other thing is that they really did not deal with the ETs properly. That means they did not defend them as much as they should have, knowing or not knowing that they're there. You can take over anytime, Simon, here.
What? What did you say? I'm just doing pretty pictures on the stream.
I said don't hesitate talking,
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, yeah, as long as as long as someone is talking, I don't need to break in. Yeah. Yeah, basically I mapped all the view controls for the DCS views onto my on my Warthog throttle and my mouse. So I basically have like full HOTAS view controls. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, I have that in X-Plane because you don't need all those buttons, so I have them all mapped with views.
More fancy views. Should be like a line on the next best throttle, like extra buttons to map fancy external views.
External panel. Let's have a little bit at the chat. Tech is saying ET is not strong, and he's right. He's right. I mean, if you defend an ET, the ET sucks. Okay, it's an easily defendable missile. The thing
What is this for mess?
ET strong,
Traffic pattern,
today
what is this
because
for?
nobody was thinking about
Much
it being
contrail,
there. That's the
etc.
point. I mean, the ET is strong if you forget about it. But if you know it's there, if you defend it correctly, the ET has no chances in hitting you. The R73 pulls much better, and the AIM-9 even more so. It's just that silent long range. Basically, you can think of it like a mine. Okay, you're just parking a minefield of ETs in the sky, and you can fly into a mine, or you can avoid flying into a mine. And that's the question here about whether or not you're flying successfully against ET. So I agree with Technotinium. Per se, the ET is not a strong a missile, So Technotinium is totally right there. Don't think that the 51st were in an uberly good position because they had so many ETs with them. That's not true. That's because how they flew, because of their boxing tactics, and because their adversary, the Greek squadron, did not deal with the ETs as they should have.
Yeah, we saw that in SATAL a lot. Many flankers didn't even take Ts because, like, you can counter them pretty well if you expect them. I mean, the Mirage, you can't even lock the Mirage until you're like within 8 nautical in AT. So basically, you have a very small window in the Mirage where you even have to worry that you like possibly get shot at by NT or ET.
Yes, basically it's like a pirate ship throwing fire barrels over the wall, for other ships run into them. All they have to do is
Well,
basically
fire
drive
barrels are
around.
not guided, but like I think the analogy is not completely wrong.
Yeah, like mines, basically guided mines, if you like. Yeah, but really not the fastest and most aggressive missile. But like we've seen, it has a lot of potential of making your day go sour if you do not treat them correctly and if you underestimate them or neglect them. And I think neglect was the main reason today. And don't get me wrong, okay, all my comments to the Greek squadron for some nice flying we've seen today, but I think we can agree that they have neglected the ET missiles too much today, and that was their downfall. All right, maybe in the chat, guys, if you have any questions for us, if you want to know something, if you want to ask something, if you want to add something, okay, then feel free to type it in chat, and we will
Problem is
answer
we
your
will only see
questions.
it 5 minutes later. Wait, I will type it in the chat for them to ask questions.
Well, I know, but they will get the answer 5 minutes later, so they just have to be patient.
Yeah. Question is, will we see an orderly RTB or will they disconnect and shoot each other?
I'd actually really like to see them landing. I don't know if you're showing that right now, because I see your stream also only 5 minutes delayed, unfortunately.
Yeah,
But,
I'm working all the fancy camera work.
but this time it looks like they're having a nice RTB. In Vic formation. And a 2-ship. So yeah, sorry for Shimango that he got shot down, and of course sorry for all the Greek guys that got shot down. It's always a pity. And you know, we want to, but not everybody can win, okay? I mean, that's the principle of team deathmatch or championship, if you want. I mean, one has to be the last man standing, but nonetheless, of course, it always makes you sad if you see people getting shot down, because you know how it feels, okay? You've been there, at least, you know, I don't know, maybe all you guys are uberly good, but I've been there a gazillion times, getting shot down, feeling bad, especially in an event, okay? You feel like letting down your team and stuff. So it's not a fun thing to experience, you know? I mean, it's a learning experience, most definitely, but of course, you know, shooting down the other guy is much more enjoyable than being shot down yourself. That being said, you know, I always feel for those guys. I always feel for those guys, and remember myself, you know, how it is to, you know, get whacked out of the sky, hearing that sudden boom, you know, hearing just your engines go down. So, yeah, I mean, very, very sad for Lockon Greece here that they caught the shorter straw, but I think 51st deserves that win very much as well. On the other side, I'm also happy for guys who do their kills and who stay on top. So it's both things, and I think the 51st really flew well here, really flew organized. They had a good plan. They carried out that plan. They stick with the plan. They adapted accordingly with the north-south spread in the second engagement, and they basically stayed in control of the whole engagements, and that's what made them win in the end. So congratulations to the 51st on winning, and congratulations to Lockon Greece on a very nice try nonetheless.
Maverick trolling hardcore level in chat, F18 released tomorrow.
All right, are we just watching them RTB? I can see the southerly 3-ship is holding in the pattern.
Yeah, I think the
And
2-ship
it
is
looks
coming in
like
for overhead break
X-Men
here.
and the guys are going for an overhead break. Sorry, Simon, it was so loud I didn't hear you talking.
All good.
But yeah, look at X-Men and Slutcher. I think they're going for an overhead break. Let's look at that.
Yep, looking from the airport currently.
So an overhead break, guys, is you fly over the runway at 1700 feet, and then you
There
make a
comes the break.
2.5 G turn to the left. There it goes. First guy's on the brake, and now the second guy's on the brake. You will turn reciprocal to your runway heading, and if you do it correctly, if you zoom in on the lead guy so that you're really very, the closest you can get, what you see in the end, his wingtip basically is parallel with the runway, and once he reaches, like now, the end of the runway, he's, as we call, rolling over the porch, with a 10 to 15 degrees nose down attitude and turning in onto the runway. That is technique the military uses in order to recover a lot of aircraft at the same time, because they all can come in nicely in a row, one after the other, and that's what we call an overhead brake. And the 51st just did a nice overhead brake there. As you can see, the second guy is just rolling over the porch now behind him. And if you stick to the manually landing like we do, even numbers on the right and uneven numbers on the left, that means lead on the left, wingman 2 on the right, wingman 3 on the left, and so on, nothing can happen to you, and you will land a whole 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 ship if you want in a row in a nice manually fashion without endangering anybody. So here you've seen a nice example of an overhead brake. You can try that in an F-15, guys. 1,700 feet above ground level over the runway. Once you're mid through the runway, brake either left or right and hold 2.5 Gs through the brake. Mid-turn through the turn, you turn reciprocal to your runway heading. So if it's 26, you will turn 08. You lower gear and flaps, you brake if you have to. And now you can see the upper 3 ship is coming in for a brake as well, and they're making the brake to the right. You can see that from the ground even. Looks very nice as well, looks very professional.
Cameraman is lost.
When you do that miraculously, and that works for every aircraft, okay, 2.5 Gs at 300 knots exactly, at 1,700 feet, your wingtip will touch the runway edge and it will run down the runway parallel. And when you hit with your wingtip the end of the runway, you roll in over the porch, 10 to 15 degrees nose attitude, and you end up with a 30-degree bank, about 45 to 30 degrees, you will end up on the runway. Did that make sense, Simon? I hope it did.
I think so, yes. To be honest, I wasn't listening because I was busy with trying to capture the overhead brake. But, like, what I gathered of it made sense to me. Due to speed and G-loading, like, you basically force the radius into the equation, and that works really well.
Yeah, but the funny thing is that it works in all aircraft with these numbers. Okay, 300 knots, 2.5 Gs exactly, and 1,700 feet. And you will always, no matter what aircraft you use, you will always end up so that your wing is literally touching the runway. It looks beautiful from the cockpit's perspective. And always you wonder, you know, let me think. I think it's 500 meters above ground and 650 kilometers per hour, and also 2.5 Gs if you do it in a Russian jet. Now that's the beauty of it. It doesn't matter what aircraft you take, okay? If you keep to these numbers, you will always end up the same. You will be visible for everybody, and you will have those clear points of brake, reciprocal, rolling over the porch.
That's
and
a broken tire. We see that.
And landing and left
we
and
see
right.
That tire.
Right. So even if you have a 40 ship, you can bring them all down in minimum time. While if you would bring them in by 2 ship and the other guys anchoring and orbiting and holding and so on and doing the sits and stars and whatnot, you know, I mean, it'll take ages to separate the aircraft accordingly.
Yaga has broke his right tire. He should be kicked immediately from the 51st. You ruined that whole thing. I think he came in too fast. Right rear tire is broken.
Well, shit can happen. It's also Russian hardware, so you know. I'm sorry, my Russian friends. You all make extremely, extraordinarily great aircraft, okay? That was just a joke. Don't get it wrong. But yeah, it was an exciting match, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. You know, I think we've seen some very nice skills here. And I hope we could make some of those tactics that have been used during the match understandable for you guys. If you have any more questions, okay, then go ahead and ask. Feel free, you know, to poke us about it and to get more understanding. In the end, we also want to encourage you to go more tactically about your own flying and to use these tactics to learn something from the streams, maybe even if little, you know. it doesn't hurt. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
That's the traitor with the broken tire.
Simon, what's wrong with you today? Usually you're talking all the time in the stream. Now that I'm here talking all the time,
well, yeah, I don't know. Basically, it's like A, camera work, and B, like you are, like usually, comment like most other people have like 1 sentence or 2 sentence like comments, and yours tend to be like a lot longer, so like there's a lot longer space where you have to listen to actually contribute something to it, and that together with the camera work is actually like there's some work involved. But like we got all planes on the ground, they have all parked nice in an orderly fashion. Yaga is going to have to change his right rear tire. So he's probably the T-boy. I think the 51st calls it T-boy, or at least Rage does. So he's probably the T-boy for the next week or so.
the mechanic is going to be very pissed about that tire for sure.
Why you break tire? Tire was perfectly fine before flight, now it's dead.
See, Ivan, you break 1 tire, you don't have tricycle, now you have bicycle.
Yeah, true. Yeah, I guess that concludes the stream. Pretty much, at least from a fighting perspective.
Yeah, I don't think we will see much more missiles fired here.
At least there shouldn't be, unless it's a misfire. So, I guess we can close the stream now, basically. Okay, and the server just went bye-bye. So
yeah,
I guess that's that.
Let's wrap this up, guys. Thanks for all of you watching. I leave the final word to Simon again. Many greetings from the Heatblur team. Remember, you can win prizes too as viewers. So revisit the streams, come back, and we will give away in total 4 F-14 Tomcats during the streams, during the whole course of SATAL, which we will not disclose when. So be there or be square. And for all the other squadrons, good luck. Congratulations again for the 51st, and thanks, Simon, for streaming. I leave it up to you to finish it, and goodbye, everybody.
Damn, at first I want to thank you for joining me commentary. Like, my original commentator got hit by the real life train yesterday, so he couldn't make it. So you jumped in. Like, I asked you yesterday night, and you jumped in this morning while being slightly underslept. But I think it turned out really well. Like, having the commentary on one guy, like the main commentary on one guy, and the camera work on the second is like really helpful. It spreads the workload nicely. So yeah, thanks for your additions to the stream, and I hope you guys watching out there did enjoy that. If there's anything terribly wrong with what we're doing, let me know via some way. Like, most things can be easily fixed. And yeah, I'm going to close the stream now, and thanks for watching.
Bye bye, guys. Enjoy your weekend.